time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Gage.
Happy Monday, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by our friends at CoolBet Canada. Visit them at coolbet.com. Stay cool, bet responsibly with CoolBet. If you're watching on the live stream, subscribe to the podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, we thank you for the support. Give us a 5-star rating, and we will put a check in the mail for all of you. Gage, Cass, Hernan, and Nielson back with you. Gage, how's the weekend, my man?
It was good. I made Megan, my wife, really laugh. So you guys want to hear this story? It's kind of funny.
I do.
So we were laughing because we found out this story of guys getting busted for cheating on their wives with their Fitbit watches or their smart watches because their linked wives were busting that way. So we thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, fast forward a month later that so my wife and I, we both have the Apple watches, but we compete against each other for working out, right? And so so it's during the day, I work out, and my wife Megan comes home and she's looking at me, and she because I just finished a workout or whatever, and she comes home and says, "Oh, did you work out, or are you cheating on me?" And then I looked at the thing, and I look at her, I go, "Honey, come on. That workout was an hour and a half. You'd have nothing to worry about unless you see a workout for 3 to 5 minutes and then start worrying about it. Anything over that period of amount of time," and she hit the floor laughing. So that was my funny to make my wife laugh, and she a reminder how much she does love me when I came up with that.
Cass, did you make your wife laugh at all this weekend?
No, I don't think so. Not no. So
good. You just sat around all weekend growing that rip beard.
She always says I get her once every 3 weeks. Like that's like when I say something funny once every 3 weeks, and it wasn't this weekend. So no, I don't think I. Yeah, nothing great from that.
That's not bad either, though. Once every 3 weeks.
Yeah, she laughs at something I say. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Hernan, you're not married yet, so I'm assuming you had a great weekend.
Yeah, no, it was good. Just chilled, watched a lot of TV, watching that Oscar Pistorius doc on Prime. So, yeah, no, just relaxed and enjoying this crazy weather last night. That wind was fierce.
Buddy, it's so crazy today. It's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, so we get Oilers and Leafs tonight. We'll dive into that. But, Gage, let's just start with your thoughts on what happened Saturday. They were in a really good spot and let her slip away.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the game, tell you the truth. I did think there was a little with Connor and Leon and the goals that were scored. And, man, it really looked like they would bring that one home. That's a tough – I felt bad for Mike Smith because he played so well and took – great quality chances, and it took a few goals away from the Leafs, but then to have a bounce off his head go in, another one hits a skate, bounces right on Nylander to one time, and then the lucky one in overtime bouncing off a couple skates, like just really unlucky things. But then we always say you got to work hard for your own breaks. The Oilers did let off the gas a little bit, but I think there's a lot of positives, some unlucky bounces, but looking forward to the rematch tonight. I think I did say one of these games they would lose in the shootout or the overtime too. So if they win tonight, I'm back in the soothsaying business for sure.
Cass, what'd you think of how that one played out, man? Like it was a little bit of a weird one.
It was a little bit of a weird one because they played well enough to win. They controlled most of the game, and you get bit by a couple bounces that don't go your way. Now, I fully agree with Gager. I don't believe in luck or puck luck, although we call it that sometimes. It's like it's physics. That's the plays have consequences, and the plays had consequences. But still unfortunate in that they're not typical goals. Like you didn't necessarily make massive mistakes. When we look back to the other day or the last time they played Toronto, they didn't generate much. They made a lot of mistakes. Toronto capitalized. This one, it felt like they controlled it. They did have some opportunity, although Toronto still played, I thought, a pretty good game, and just a couple bounces that go in. So I don't think you sit and are upset in that you're furious with the way that they played. I think you're upset that, yeah, it's really unfortunate that they lost it. Still get a point, and if they win tonight against Toronto, then no one is really too worried about it. Like, you get 3 out of 4 in Toronto on the road, you're happy with it. So I guess how I totally feel about it will depend on how they play tonight and if they can come away with 2 points.
Hernan, what was the reaction like after that loss on Saturday?
Yeah, it was weird, man. A lot of you got to earn a lot of your power plays. I don't think the Oilers were bad in that game. I think it was fairly even. And fluky goals. 3 out of the 4 were, the tying goals off Hall's skate right to Nylander when everybody's looking the other way. And then, that overtime goal is a double deflection. I will say, and I know we're going to get to it, but it was mostly on the officials, which was kind of weird because I didn't see anything that was missed that was so huge that it would be brought up so much, and just how the offense kind of dries up after that first line. So I think those are the 2 big topics we saw on Saturday in the post-game show.
Yeah, and we'll get to that top 6 again there in a second. Cash, you were shaking your head with the official blaming from some fans. I think overall where that comes from is the frustration of having in 3 of the last 4 games. I think there could have been a couple more calls, but I just can't buy into the fact that Connor McDavid doesn't draw more than 1 penalty in 3 games against the Toronto Maple Leafs when they're containing him. Like, that doesn't sit well with me, and I think that's why people are fired up.
Well, a little bit. Ian, though, as a player, it's, what it is, Dusty? Let me backtrack this a little bit. It's just it's a spillover from the whole Tim Peel situation. As long as I've watched hockey, and certainly while I was playing professionally, everybody knew Toronto, Montreal, New York, Chicago, Pittsburgh, at the time, LA, all with calls from the officials. They're going to get the benefit of the doubt with suspensions. That's just, it's just part of it. Bettman's buddies, the big money teams, they're the ones that get a little bit extra on the call side. And so with everything with, Peel coming out about the game management, like I see where people would be frustrated, feeling like Toronto's getting a benefit here. And there may be some of that. With that being said, I didn't see any blatantly, horribly missed calls. So I don't want to blame that one on the officials because they had a lead. They were up 3-1 and they gave up the lead. So don't blame it on the officials. You didn't lose that because of them. If you want to be frustrated with the officiating, I think that's fine. But to say that it's their fault, I don't agree with.
This is what I've been saying for the last 3 weeks. Like, it's so frustrating, but it's just the way it is. It's just the way it's been. It's so weird to me, man. It's just, it blows me away. All right, so let's transition to tonight with the Oilers and Leafs, and we'll kind of tie that in to we got to talk about it. A couple of different places to go here. Hernan, let's start with yours, and just quickly before we go there, Kyle Turris. Actually, let's start there. Let's just quickly get some thoughts on Turris drawing in on a line with Nugent Hopkins and Yamamoto. Hernan, let's start with you. What do you think of Turris getting that opportunity?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Dave Tippett wants to try something, see if he can get this player going. Ennis and Cahoon haven't generated much on that second line, regardless who's on there. So we'll see. We're either going to be pleasantly surprised tonight, or we're kind of going to be like, well, we'll see if a transition's made in game or if it's just okay, right? So for me, Dusty, to be honest, I probably more highly skilled guys than he would usually in the bottom 6. So this guy has shown in the past that he has the skill to score nice goals and all that. And remember, before he got hurt, his last game was his best game. So if he can build off that, I know it was a long time ago, but yeah, I'm intrigued, Dusty. I don't know. Nothing really has worked there, so why not?
Yeah, I think maybe after this week of practice, maybe he's shown something that's kind of lit the fire, and Tippett's seen this and said, oh, maybe that another look might we might see something different. It would be great if all of a sudden he picked up right where he left off, like you said, Hernan, because he did have his best game and on that last game before he got injured. That would be great for the Oilers right now because the having McDavid and Draisaitl, it seems like nothing. There's nothing anyone can do to stop them right now.
Cass, they work with Nugent Hopkins and Yamamoto.
Well, he certainly has worked with other high, offensive players in the past in terms of capacity and capability, and not everyone has that, and not everyone can do that. Where, he's been able to play with, as Hernan said, he did finish off right before he got hurt, was his best game of the season, his best little stretch. So a good opportunity for him here. And if it works, that'd be fantastic. Knowing that he can slide into that second line. I certainly didn't expect him to. I thought we were going to see Ennis back in there. Not surprised about Cahoon. He just seems to have these moments where he just doesn't, compute the game well, let's say, for lack of a better term.
He's had a few of those moments, yeah.
He's had a whole bunch of those moments. So it's like he'll be fine, and then he just does something where he's just like, I don't know about that play. But yeah, I thought it was going to be Ennis. Turris hasn't been in the lineup for a while, and maybe they're hoping that this gives him a little bit of a spark and gives that line a spark.
I was very surprised by it. We'll see how guys that maybe you try in there before him, but good opportunity for Kyle Turris. And as a veteran guy, maybe it does work. But Hernan, what do we got to talk about, buddy?
I want to talk about McDavid and Draisaitl, and because it was a topic on the post-game show, and I saw a lot of people on social media talking about it. Is if the Oilers can continue to start games playing McDavid and Draisaitl on the same line, and I'm not saying the other lines have been horrible, because they haven't. They've been okay. They've been good. They've had a few good shifts here and there, but you're just not getting enough offense from the other three lines when McDavid and Draisaitl play together. But when they do, it's great. Like Gage said, like those two goals on Saturday, like even if you're not a fan, you jumped out of your seat because you were like, holy cow, what did they just do? Like that McDavid pass to Draisaitl, like the pass to finish. And it was the first time I've ever saw like media out east just praising those two, like saying like, and using like swear words to get their point across, because it was amazing. But I guess I just want to ask, like, going forward here, you got about just over a month and a little bit to go here to lock down a playoff spot. What is the best strategy? Because if they don't play together, guys, like they always play the first shift together after a PK, right? If they're down, Dave Tippett can always go to them and separate lines like they did for all of February.
I think it depends on who you're playing against too, right? Like,
that too, yeah.
I mean, I think you can play them together against most teams, but I'm a little bit more hesitant against Winnipeg because they're pretty big and strong down the middle now with those three big centers. That's the only team that I think it might come back and bite you in the ass. But for the most part, I don't see an issue with loading them up against all the other teams in the.
Typically see a problem, or that I think it's team dependent. It depends on who you're playing against. I'm actually hesitant against Toronto as well, just because I think there's enough offensive depth in Toronto that they can burn those other lines, and to an extent that's what we saw, where the Oilers' top line was effective. Is this the best way to play Toronto, or are you better off spreading it out a little bit? Against Calgary, against Montreal, and I think against Ottawa, absolutely go for it. But against Winnipeg and Toronto in particular, those are the groups that in Vancouver, I should say too, go for it. But Winnipeg and Toronto, I don't know if it spreads you too thin against some pretty potent offenses.
This was a theory that I didn't come up with on my own, but some people were tweeting at me after the game, and we had a few texts on it this morning, and I don't think you see many teams do this, but what are your guys' thoughts on having them together, getting the lead, and then like we saw in 3-1 lead in the third period, put Draisaitl back on the other line, have McDavid on his line, and kind of let you're splitting them up to secure the lead because you've already got it because they were together. It's like a bizarro reverse sort of strategy, but I could see why people would think it might work. Hernan, what do you think of that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Because even in that 3-1 game, like Cass said, like that line was doing their thing, right? Like they were generating, getting offensive zone time. The other lines would come over the board and they would struggle with that. It was more play in the Oilers zone and all that. So, I mean, if you're up 2 with even 10 minutes to go, I definitely would look at that saying, Dry, you're back with Nuge and or sorry, he wouldn't play him with Nuge, but you know what I mean. Like McDavid's back with Nuge, and then throw just Yamamoto and Draisaitl back together, and Jesse stays on the top line and whoever on that second line. I think that's a really good strategy. We'll see if Dave Tippett starts to use it, but yeah, because once that top line came off, you knew Toronto was gonna bring it a little bit more. So I like that idea, Dusty.
It just seems so crazy because, like, when would a team ever want to change their lines simply because they're winning? Like, it's worked up to that point. But Cass, is it so crazy that it does kind of make sense? Like, it's almost like, you'll wait, fall behind, and then put them together. Well, why not put them together, get the lead, and then look after it from there?
Yeah, that doesn't sound absurd to me at all. Actually, I don't think that's that crazy at all to say you're switching it to spread it out a little bit more because you have the lead and you want to force other teams to spread their stuff out a little bit too. Like I don't know. I think that's a viable thought. Certainly. So, I don't mind, the opinion of the texters to say that, hey, why don't they do this? I think that should be something they look at.
Yeah, especially because the other team is going to go into try to take a few more chances at that point kind of approach too. And to get probably it would mess up a little bit of the matchups. Again, depending on who you're playing, they're looking, and the Oilers being on the road, they'd be looking at preferable matchups against maybe the third line. But if you have Connor and Leon kind of coming back and forth all the time, that would cause issues, I think, for just trying to get those proper matchups to tie that game up.
All right, let's continue with this, and mine ties into the top six too. So I'll go next here with we got to talk about, and I've got the perfect solution to the top six. I call it the top six fix. And here it is. Everybody's been talking, need another top six winger. Well, you got a guy that scored 15 goals for you playing in your top six, that you're paying over $3 million to right now playing in your bottom six. So it almost gets everybody what they want. Cass, it gets you what you want. Hernan, I think it would get you with Draisaitl and Yamamoto. And then you move Puljujarvi over to the left side because he has played the left side in Finland in the past. Put Kassian on the right side and McDavid in the middle. Boom. There's your top six. Tell me the downside to getting a look at it. I don't know if it would work.
I like it. I mean, it's tough to say you don't like Leon and Connor because they work so well, but I like the two guys that can really scoot beside Connor. That's a fast line and
an
physical
aggressive line.
Yeah, and really physical. So, and then I mean, if Yamamoto needs to get going, I think a little bit more offensively, and by putting him back together with those two, I think it gets him a little bit more pumped and probably gets him more involved offensively. Yeah, I think You should put in the resume, Dusty. Maybe get there beside old Playfair. Maybe fit right in.
Who's that big oaf standing on the bench with these guys? Oh, that's Nielson from the radio. He came up with the idea of Kassian and Puljujarvi with McDavid. Cass, what do you think? Do you think it works? Or do you think? Would you like to see it?
You had me sold on it at the nudie line back together.
I knew that'd suck you in.
Yeah, that pulled me right into it. Like, I will ride that train all the way home. Like I am 100% on board to give that a shot. Why wouldn't you? I mean, I know why you wouldn't, because McDavid. Give it a look. Give it a look.
Yeah, I'm with the boys. What's not to like about it, right? Like, you got a little bit of everything. So yeah, I'm on board for it, Dusty, 100%.
I just think Kassian and Puljujarvi could be an absolute nightmare. So at this point, I'd say we'll never see it, but I would like to see it just to see how it works. And if it sucked, I would come on here and I would come on my show and I'd say, my name's Dustin Nielson and I was wrong. But until then, it's my top six fix and I think it'll work. All right. Gage, what do we got to talk about?
I don't know. What do we have to talk about? I really did. I wanted to talk about the Leafs game, basically. I didn't know what else to really say. I saw a funny thing on what was it called? Virtual dysphoria.
Yeah, video.
Whatever. I texted it to you.
Video dysmorphia.
dysmorphia surgery with all the virtual calls now. And I just wanted to say, I hope you guys don't do that, because it's a pleasure looking at you guys two times a week, and very handsome, attractive men. So it's don't go under the knife. All right. I know I'm a little bit older, that I might need to pull it back a little bit, tighten it up, but you guys look good. So just don't go till you get the consults from the plastic surgeons quite yet. All right. Wait a little bit.
See, what do you know? I got work done on my cheeks 3 months ago. You haven't even noticed. Jeez. Come on, Gage. Is that really a thing? Are people, is that what they're, because of all the Zoom meetings? They're getting work done?
Because of all the Zoom meetings, cosmetic surgery and facial reconstruction, the percentage is blown up, because people see themselves so much more. Like some people are having 3 to 10 Zoom meetings a day, and they don't like what they see. And the bad thing is the cameras that they're using are probably crap, right? There's a little fisheye, and so they're not great cameras to begin with for the most part. And so they're really fixing something that's not really there. So maybe I need just to get a better camera, I guess.
That might be the key for you.
Yeah.
All right. Cass, what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, not video, just whatever. I wanted to talk about something that is equally as painful and difficult to watch. Did you guys see the Ekblad injury? Did you guys get a chance to watch that?
Oh, yeah.
I just watched a bit.
Didn't want to. But.
Oh, man. Like, my reaction was like, oh, I think I made a noise out loud, too, just watching it. I feel horrible for the guy. Like, he was having a fantastic season, and is the key part to that Florida defense. And Florida has been, they're competitive this year in that division. That's a pretty good division, and they've been playing some pretty good hockey, winning a lot of games, and you have what looks like to be let's call it the trifecta of knee injuries, where it was probably MCL, ACL, PCL, and I don't know. I just feel horrible for him. It's never fun seeing your star players get injuries, especially on an innocent play. Like it wasn't like there was a dirty hit. It wasn't someone tripping someone, going back on an icing. It's just unfortunate. A guy catches an edge and pop goes the knee. The heel doesn't move and everything goes. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit. And I know we don't talk about the other divisions that much, but what or how, with so little time to the trade deadline, if you're Florida, do you replace, or not that you can replace, but how do you try to overcome an Ekblad injury?
I don't think you can you?
I don't think you can.
So does this sink their season then?
If you view their season as of Carolina or Tampa, and if you're going to do that, I mean, it would either have to be like this all-time playoff run, but that would have been a difficult task without Ekblad. Now, or with Ekblad. Now without Ekblad, I see it as not possible. And I know Huberdeau, and they got a ton of talent there, but that's not happening. There's no way they're knocking off both of those. So yeah, I mean, to me, if next step for quite some time, and this was the guy that you wanted to build it all around, him and Barkov and Huberdeau essentially, and now you lose him. So I don't know. Maybe the boys disagree with me. What do you think, guys?
And Barkov's out too, right?
Barkov's hurt right now too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that you always hear to see how great a player is unless you kind of see him on a regular basis. And it was fun last year to actually watch another guy that plays in Florida, Hedman. Like, you just hear how great he is. But to actually see him, Ekblad, I don't think he's not quite on Hedman's level, but he's close. And I was hoping to, I always like playoffs because you get to watch other players that maybe you don't see as much. And just so unfortunate. I mean, he's been bit by that injury bug a little bit during his career, kind of like Clefbaum has to an extent. So Yeah, you don't recover from guys that patience and that can do things that most guys can't. So that's a huge blow to their season.
Yeah, like a guy like Anton Strawman, who found himself on waivers, is back into the fold now. And you look at guys like Yandel and Radko Gudas, who, as the veterans on the back end, are going to have to take a big step. And I mean, Mackenzie Weegar's an interesting player. He can put up some points as well. But yeah, it's not ideal for this team to lose a guy like Ekblad, and because you're depending on some older guys and some younger guys like Augusta, Forsling, and all that. So we'll see if they can maintain their spot in the playoffs without Ekblad. I think once they get Sasha Barkov back, I think they'll be okay. But yeah, we'll see what happens here going forward with the Florida Panthers. It's been nice, guys, to see them up there and playing good hockey, because we've been waiting for them to take this step for many, many years. They finally did. And now, I mean, they lose their best forward and they lose their best defenseman.
Yeah, they got the star power. There's no doubt about it, but it's tough.
I mean, he's consistent.
We'll follow along, but in tough now against Carolina and Tampa in that division. All right, let's get to Keep It or Clip It here on another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie. If you're watching on the live stream right now, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. You'll find it at Two Guys and a Goalie on all of your podcasting platforms. It's got 4 questions here for Keep It or Clip It, boys. Let's dive into it. It's kind of going around the league a bit here. Let's start with this one. The Winnipeg Jets should give up one of their young D-men and a first rounder for Matthias Ekholm. Keep it or clip it.
Ooh.
I'll keep it, because Ekholm, man, like if you had him there with Neil Pionk and Josh Morrissey, and with that tops, well, you know what? All their lines are pretty good. So, and Connor Hellebuck, I mean, is he the missing piece? I know he's a little bit older, but he's a hell of a defenseman. I think you do it, Dusty, especially if you're in win mode now. Why not?
I mean, he's only got 1 year left in his contract. That's the
that's
the
next
thing. Yeah, that's the tough thing there. For Nashville to say, okay, we're going to be sellers here. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. Like, I mean, maybe you do that even if you're Nashville, if you get a first rounder and one of the young D-men, maybe. But that's I don't know if I mean, the price is going to be so astronomically high. I mean, I don't know if Winnipeg does it. I think if you're Winnipeg, you do, just because that instantly
full-blown window to take a run at it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you got the blue line solidified. We know you got the forwards, and you got one of the best goalies in the league. Like, at that point, it's like, okay, boom, let's go. Gage, what do you think?
Like, just it would make them just such a solid contender at that point. Like, that's the one piece. I mean, I like their D though. I do like it, but just having that one extra guy that can munch minutes and is such a force. That's maybe Buff
has just got off the ice fishing train here. I bet in Minnesota, he just got off the lake.
Probably not in game shape, I would think.
And just to Cass's point, Nashville, with their win yesterday, they're in a playoff spot.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, are you moving him?
Well, if you're Nashville, are you going anywhere in the playoffs, though? Like, I think you have to be realistic about it, I think, at some point. Yeah. Daryl Sutter really fired up Johnny Gaudreau with his effort comment. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it. Yeah. Johnny said he knew what he meant, sure. and he's still alive from that one hit, to tell you the truth. I'm shocked that he got up. Jeez.
Pionk popped him, eh?
Pionk is a beast. He is an absolute beast. And I think I mentioned, like, he's got one of those shots that sounds like a cannon too. Like when I was in the puck a little bit different, he's got one of those cannons as well. But man, he's a great hitter. Having another D on there, that's a scary team. That's really scary.
Pionk and a first for Trouba, I think, was that deal when they got young D-men and the first.
I doubt you would see a GM that would make that trade now, right? Like, I don't.
And yeah, he was
throwing Sutter.
Gager, did you keep it? Was that what you did?
Yeah.
I'm gonna clip it. I don't think Johnny Hockey is gonna, like, he may say the right things, but I don't think he's gonna respond. Premeditated, whatever. He thought about what he was going to say beforehand. Sutter did going into that to try to push the buttons to get Gaudreau going a little bit more here. But I don't think it works. It certainly doesn't work long term. I believe we are slowly seeing the end of Gaudreau's tenure as a Calgary Flame.
I'll keep it, because if you're a betting man, like I know Gage and Dusty, I don't know if Cass is, but you knew once you heard that comment Saturday afternoon, Gaudreau was going to put up some points, and he did.
Well, you got one whole point.
Can only push that button every
you got
so
two? I
often.
thought you got one.
I can't wait to be after game 505 of Gaudreau's career, Sutter being like, needs to be better. Fun question. You would rather be the GM of the Kraken than the GM of the Sabres right now. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it. I just want to be the first one to say that, because I know everyone else is going to say the same thing. Like, you have a pretty favorable sell, and you get to craft a new team, pick all your players. You have a new coach come in. You have the opportunity to create a culture and an identity as an organization, as a GM, to dictate that, where you're not already in this losing, horrible mindset.
I mean, Dahlin and Eichel eventually will figure it out. I like
those are pretty good players, man.
Yeah, man. Like, and throw Tobias Reeder in there. Fine. But I'm with. Like, I didn't even think of this, but when Cass said you rather live in Seattle or Buffalo, I go Seattle. So I'll keep it for that reason alone.
Yeah, I gotta. It's the trifecta. You gotta. It's way better in Seattle. Way better. It's a deadly town. Awesome.
How
The
much
boys are
does
just
it
thinking
say?
about going out.
Yeah.
How much does it say about the rest of the shit that Buffalo has put themselves in, that they're handed a first overall forward and a first overall defenseman at Buffalo? It's unbelievable.
But how do you organizations do that sometimes, Dusty? Look at Edmonton.
Man. Yeah, no, it's true. You're right. Yeah.
And how many people would have said, like, if there was an expansion team like going to Vegas, let's say pre Connor McDavid, would say, like, would you go to Edmonton or would you go to Vegas? Everyone would be like, Vegas.
You talked about culture too. Like, how long has it taken the Oilers to get out of that type of losing culture? Just the trying to beat people with just young skill, there was no leadership. It just seemed like it was a boat without a rudder or guys paddling, and it took years and to see the kind of the culture. I mean, there's definitely something different with the Oilers there, and I know those two are great players, but it's always nice to have a young superstar come in with some established veteran guys that can help them along the line, especially when they're younger. You look at Leon and Connor now, and younger guys that are coming into the Oilers organization. It's not that you wouldn't look up to those guys even if they were younger, but now there's guys in place to build a culture moving forward, and it's tough to build. Seattle, you can do that right off the hop with people. What I loved about what Vegas did is the guys that they did go after were those really good, almost kind of on the bubble where they were on the teams that they were at, and they got those type of hungry players that just wanted a chance. And we see how well it's looked. It's gone for them, like Tuck and a few other guys. I can't remember their names right now, but yeah, building a culture off the hop. I'd love to be a GM like that. What a culture I would have. It would be Culture Club.
Just a sec. Culture Club. 129. Culture Club. All right. The Avalanche should trade for Taylor Hall. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. Come on. Oh, no.
He's going to get traded somewhere, Gage. I'm going to ask a different team until he gets moved every week.
Colorado's doing so well without him. I'll clip it. I'm a Taylor Hall guy. I think he would bring. Yeah, he's a good top 6 guy. But Colorado, do they really need him? So I'll clip it. That team is so good.
You think he's going to get traded?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, he'll get traded. And Buffalo, I think, who pointed it out today? Sarah Volley pointed out on my show. They're paying him $35,000 a day in a year where they've lost 17 in a row. Okay, and you're not bringing in any money. You're moving Taylor Hall. Like, you're not going to ride this thing out, I don't think. So, Cass, you're sitting there very quietly, very wisely. What are you coming up with?
I kind of think they should do it. I'm going to keep it.
Whoa.
I think Colorado should trade for him. How deadly does that make your second line? Like, your second line's already really good, but how dangerous does that make your second line? Like, and you want to talk about having culture insulation, which when you have players that may or may not be issues in the dressing room, that may or may not be, have that selfish mentality, or may not come with that label, they have their strong-willed leaders that have enough personality, from my observation, and enough oomph in the dressing room that they're going to be able to keep any issues in check. And I think he brings a heck of a lot to that second line on the wing. Like, to me, I think if you're Colorado, you have the cap space here. If the price isn't too much to ask for, you do it, because you are in your window for the Colorado Avalanche right now. Yeah, absolutely, you do it.
Be interesting to see where he ends up. See the Bruins tossed around there as well. Same sort of discussion there, I would think, Cass, with the Bruins and that leadership group. So, yeah, it'll be fun to see. Gage, you're sorry, man, but I'm going to have to keep asking about him until he gets dealt. It'll happen at some point, I think. All right, that's going to do it for episode 129, The Culture Club, right here on Two Guys. Yeah.
Like, how did we chase?
My gosh.
I didn't want to wrap up the episode with a massive boner and go walking back upstairs, but thanks, Hernan. You just accomplished it. Look, okay, I'll talk about it for a second. We've talked, because he knows Toronto's not going to take any penalties, so they're not going to have a power play anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. But I don't think we sit there and watch that power play tonight and go, wow, they're really missing Chase on the power play, right? Like, if you can change your lineup in other ways to make it better elsewhere, as opposed to the power play, which is driven by 3 guys anyway, or 4 guys, I guess, with Barry. I don't think it matters who's in front, but I am going to be excited to see him get a ton of PP time, Hernan. Don't you think?
Kassian.
Who? Yeah, Cass never gets sniff at the power play. Cass, what do you think? Think it would be Yamo? Probably. Eh?
Probably.
Yeah.
Do you potentially Turris?
Maybe Turris.
Oh,
Maybe Turris.
yeah.
Sounds like JP might be a 2-minute guy on this top unit. That's great. Stay out there the whole time, buddy. All of my dreams are coming true. It's just unbelievable. Hernan, thanks for bringing that up, buddy. That's great.
Man.
All right, that's going to do it. Enjoy the game tonight. They get Montreal on Tuesday, and then we will have another podcast, another episode on Thursday. As always, Two Guys and a Goalie is brought to you by CoolBet Canada. Visit them at coolbet.com. If you're going to sign up for an account, use the bonus code 2GUYS with the number 2 and the word guys, and you get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. Boys, enjoy the next couple of games, and we'll catch up later in the week. All right.
See you, boys.
Hey, boys.
Bye.